and gentlemen, it is time for the commencement of session 2C of oral presentations.
Presiding over this session will be our chairperson and judge, Professor Kosala Madhave and Dr. Lakshita Patilana. And Mr. Tavita will be joining us as the timer.
Before we commence this session, we would like to remind the presenters of the following. Each of you will have 7 minutes to present your research. At the end of your time, you will have a Q&A session of 3 minutes. The total time allocated per presenter, therefore, is 10 minutes. There will be 1 bell ring at the end of 5 minutes and 2 bell rings at the end of 7 minutes.
With that being said, let us warmly welcome our first speaker for this session, Priyanjala MGMI, to present their research on impact on social media on academic performance among medical undergraduates, University of PERADENIYA.
Good afternoon, dear madam and my dear colleagues. I'm Priyanjala from Room 28. So today I'm going to talk about impact of social media on academic performance among medical undergraduates of University of PERADENIYA. So let's start from introduction. Medical students in Sri Lanka are selected to universities through an extremely competitive examination. But their academic performance varies drastically once they enter into universities. And the reason can be multifactorial. So use of the social media could be one of the reasons. Social media can be used for academic activities as well as recreational activities such as chatting, watching movies, likewise. So WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram and Twitter are the popular social media platforms. In our justification, many studies have been conducted on social media usage and academic performance. As example, Ern and Eisen 2017B. So they use school population. And Karpinski et al. 2013 and others use university undergraduates. So most of them focused on locally, but internationally, but very few number of research projects have been done locally. So that's why we specially selected medical undergraduates, certainly PERADENIYA medical faculty students, as local samples to identify the association between social media usage and academic performance because it is still prevalent among students. These are the objectives. General objective is to identify the impact of social media on academic performance among medical undergraduates of University of PERADENIYA. Specific objectives are to identify the patterns of social media usage among medical undergraduates of University of PERADENIYA. Second one is to identify the association between social media usage and academic performance among medical undergraduates of University of PERADENIYA. So our methods and materials are a descriptive cross-sectional study was carried out by the distributing a self-administered questionnaire as a Google form via emails and WhatsApp among medical undergraduates 1819 and 1920 batches. So we aim to find the devices used to assess the social media and types of platform, time spent on social media, reasons of using social media and compare those with the academic performance by using GPA. So chi-square and Fisher-Scat tests were used with significant level of the p-value equal 0.05 for all variables. Finally, we got that type of results. So 211 students were examined and predominantly females. And all of them are Sinhalese are 79% and 22 to 24 aging 77%. So smartphone use for internet access was prevalent, which is 95%, with top platform being WhatsApp, which is 92%, and second one is Facebook. So while no significant association were found between Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram or other platforms and academic performance, But Twitter use showed a significant positive association. So patterns of social media use during exams did not impact academic performance, and neither did the time spent on social media nor its educational use. This is pie chart shows what I previously said, and these are the limitations. So we use Google Form-based questionnaire. So with self-reporting variables, this is could pose the recall bias and therefore affect the accuracy of the results. So our team created the questionnaire themselves because there was no validated standard questionnaire available. So this could potentially lead to biases or measurement errors if the questionnaire were not properly validated. So as well as this research consider different social media platforms as a whole and does not take different features available on different social media applications, which could impact academic performance partially or fully. And academic performance was assessed using GPA scores of the most recent exam results, excluding those from earlier exams. And as well as other variables such as student study habits, extracurricular activities, or personal life situation were not taken into the consideration, which could affect academic performance positively or negatively. The study assessed social media usage during specific spaces like before study leave, during study leave, after exam, which may not capture year-round social media habits. This is our final conclusion. According to this study, there was no significant association between time spent on social media for educational purposes, and reasons or purpose of using social media, types of social media platforms, and medical undergraduates' academic performance. But Twitter showed positive association, as I previously said. This is our recommendation for future researchers. First one is develop and carry out curriculum-based media literacy programs. Second one is to establish digital well-being services and endeavors which support academic success. To offer guidance to students on how to balance social media and academics at the same time. Third one is to allocate specific study time and leisure time, learn efficient time management skills, utilize tools or applications to track the screen time and establish usage of goals. This is our references. And finally, I would like to express our deepest appreciation for our supervisor, Madam Sanjivani Fonseca, and Madam Vasanthi Pinto of our Dean of Faculty, as well as our Community Medicine Department. Finally, 1819 and 1920 batches of Faculty of Medicine, University of PERADENIYA. Thank you. Question. If anybody want to ask any questions of academic question?
How many people are using Twitter? There's a connection, correlation, association between Twitter and academic performance.
So actually, I would like to hand over this question for our colleagues in research.
What we want to talk about Facebook, 70.
Thank you, sir. Ask me the question. So why do you think that the found is association between those views, Twitter and academic performance results? Yes, madam. Thank you for asking the question. Actually, we thought in Twitter population is somewhat academically standard in some higher level. So they also use this Twitter for the mainly academic performance, sharing knowledge and likewise. So I think this is the cause. before the students were not using much social media, and compare now. Then it's taking 21 just 1 point. If you get to compare before and now to like something, before the two or
maybe but some communicationally it was in that time because all of them are busy with our academics like us, so actually we did not thought about that. '18, '19 and 1920 batches, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Maybe. Yes, madam. We also find out some previous researchers, and all of them are study about previous questionnaire, but there is no validated questionnaire.
No, what I'm asking is why did you get interested in this particular topic? What is the reason behind this?
First one is we all of thought it is very common scenario among our society, and all of them use social media nowadays. So that's why we thought we all thought this is easy for us. But all of them are our supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we would like to invite Marasingha MMBK, who will be delivering their presentation on sleep and academic performance of medical undergraduates of University of PERADENIYA.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dear managers. I am Viraj Mahasinha from Research Group 24, and I'm going to quickly take you through our research, sleep and academic performance of medical undergraduates of Faculty of Medicine, University of Kerala. First, let me give you a brief introduction to our research. Sleep is very much beneficial for several key aspects of our health, including physical health, mental health, and especially cognitive functions. And when we consider medical students, they are typically known to have a heavy undergraduate curriculum filled with clinical rotations, casualties, exams, bypass, etc. So it is possible to assume that due to this heavy academic workload, typical medical student usually doesn't get enough time to have enjoy a good night's sleep. So if there is a significant relationship between sleep quality and academic performance, medical students' academic performance is going to get affected definitely. So these are our objectives. Sorry for the numbering. And first we determine the sleep dimensions like sleep duration and subjective sleep satisfaction like things. And then we assess the sleep quality of the sample and compare it with their academic performance. And finally, we assess the chronotype, which I will be discussing later further, and compare it with their relevant academic performance. So this is what we did. Our sample included 393 students from our faculty, except for the first years and the final year. And we collected our data using a questionnaire. And in that questionnaire, each participant had to record their last exam results in order for us to evaluate their GPA, in order to evaluate the academic performance. So to reduce the recall bias in that regard, we included only the batches who have completed their exams within last 6-month period. That's why we had to exclude the final years who have completed their last exam before 6 months, and the first years who hadn't even sat for their first exam by the time of the data collection. And for the statistical analysis part, we utilized Pearson's chi-square test and the SPS26 software. And so this is basically what we did. We assess the quality and chronotype and comparability with their respective academic performance. So moving on to the results section. So this is the distribution of the sleep duration. As you can see, only 4% had slept less than 5 hours a day. It means more than 95% had slept more than 5 hours a day. So this is the distribution of the sleep quality. You may be amazed, but this is somewhat contradictory to the existing results in the world, because most of the results done on this regard under university populations has shown majority has fallen under very poor sleep quality. But on our result, the majority has documented under very good quality. And not to mention, there were no one under the very poor sleep quality, and more than half, 58% has recorded an excellent sleep quality. We will discuss the causes for that as we move along. And next, this I might say the most important segment of our study. So this graph shows the association between the sleep quality and academic performance. As you can see, the academic performance, which is depicted by the mean GPA, is progressively increasing as the sleep quality improves. So the relationship between these two variables has been statistically proven by utilizing the Pearson's chi-square test, which gave us a p-value of 0.024, which is statistically significant. So next, this is the chronotype, and this is the chronotype distribution. So let me give you what is chronotype. Chronotype is basically the time of the day duration when you are at your maximum physiological capacity. For example, if you can work more effectively, more vigorously, more attentively during the daytime, especially morning, you belong to morning chronotype. And on the other hand, if you can work more effectively and more vigorously, more focused on evening and nights, you belong to evening chronotype. So this is basically determined by the natural circadian rhythm of our body, which is also called the biological clock of our body. So as you can see, the majority of our population, around 70.5%, belong to the evening chronotype. So this is similar to current existing trends of the current existing results. So next we will assess the chronotype versus academic performance. As you can see, the morning time students have had a comparatively higher academic performance when compared to evening time students. And this was also statistically confirmed by utilizing Pearson's chi-square test, which resulted in a p-value of 0.042. So we'll move on to the discussions, conclusion, and recommendation part. First, we have to discuss why our study has resulted in a higher quality, high amount of higher quality sleep. So the first thing I must emphasize on this is that our questionnaire, because we used only a simple 7 questions long subjective assessment of sleep. There are several universally accepted objective sleep quality assessment tools like Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, but they are a bit too lengthy and would be quite impractical to use in a context like this. So, as a point of suggestion for future researchers, I would like to let you know to make use of somewhat more structured sleep quality assessment tool on assessing your sleep quality, and try to include all of the measures if possible. So next, I will tell you why there was a relationship between good quality sleep and academic performance. So there could be many reasons, but most important thing, as we think, it's the cognitive benefits of sleep. Because most of the researchers have found out that the sleep is a mandatory factor for long-term memory potentiation. Not only the memory, decision thinking, decision making, and all those things that help you to improve your academic performance is improved by sleep. So, as a suggestion, As in institutional level, we can arrange wellness programs and uh, educating and improving the knowledge of the staff as well to improve the sleep quality of the students. And finally, why morning time students have outperformed the evening time students in academic sleep? In evening type students, they tend to work late in the night. So it's possible to think that they stay awake until late midnight, which will eventually reduce their sleep duration, which will eventually cause a poor sleep quality, which will end up in poor academic result. So that's pretty much it. These are some of the differences we have made. And so thank you everyone. It's open for questions.
Very much for finishing on time. And now it's question time. So any clarifications, anybody wants to ask question? How do you measure the quality? You said
Sleep quality.
here,
Yes.
item, there were 7 items.
Yeah, there were 7 items.
What
Question.
was
Yeah, it was more like subjective, like how frequently you go to sleep on time, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but they were more like subjective approach. How well do you think you are satisfied with your sleep? Something like that.
it's a tailor-made one or it's available in the web?
Uh, 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 it was, we have adopted it from a similar study that in done in a foreign setting, but those questions had a high internal consistency and was validated and developed by experts on that field. Yes, sorry about that. And main limitation would be, as I mentioned, the questions we used to assess the sleep quality was limited. And something I forgot to mention was that the data collection time period. Because as we think, again, one of the reasons for those unexpected sleep quality results could be the data collection period we used, because due to the that report by thing, we have to exclude we have included only the batches who have completed their exams within the last 6 months. So all of the batches we included who have completed their exams recently and they do not have an impending exam nearby. So I think it gave them like a window period so they can enjoy a goodness. That's one of our assumption. So, and again, that was that question was again an invitation.
If you take any factors into account that may be affecting the sleep, like with the student excellently on the point of view,
Yeah.
things like that, with the being maybe sedentary stuff like
Yeah, thank you, madam. And actually, we based our entire study on that above mentioned foreign setting. And in that study as well, they have mentioned the exact same thing that you have mentioned. And
medications, maybe.
sorry.
Medications.
Yeah, medications, some they have even considered the illnesses they have had. So, but during the it's illnesses, but as I remember, they have using something like regression analysis. They have excluded those things and filtered out sleep quality, chronotype, and 2 other factors which will affect the sleep quality more than those the factors that you mentioned.
Whose research idea was there?
That is my friend Ramakamina. Actually, when we presented it to our supervisor, she was also happy. I mean, she's a lecturer, she knows how many of the students are sitting in the lectures, and she was interested very much in it.
So your hypothesis was that the speed poor speed quality may not be performed
Very, yes. Thank you. Hope I'm audible. So, good afternoon to all of you. I'm Ganesham Nadrasa, and this is our research on co-design knowledge transfer strategies in preparation for future learning, a multi-arm parallel group randomized control study. If you haven't understood it yet, I'll explain. Laksov and colleagues have stated that clinical teachers often complain that medical students have forgotten or somehow lost their knowledge that has been taught in the preclinical levels at the time of entering the clinical part of education. So then we realized, what is it that was used to teach students the preclinical times? According to Bonwell and Cashin, in lectures, students are often passive because there is no mechanism to ensure that they are intellectually engaged with the material. Also evidenced by my previous colleague who spoke about how people fall asleep during lectures. So taking this background, we found out that the limitations in didactic lectures as a mode of instruction give rise to a need for what? A supplementary guided self-learning activity which would facilitate students' achievement of higher order learning objectives. And we also found out through our literature review that there were only a few studies in instruction in basic sciences which use randomized control studies. And therefore, our further research showed that in Sri Lanka, this would be the first study to explore the short-term effect of co-design learning intervention. So we thought, why not? We are going up higher up the level of the evidence hierarchy. So we thought, let's go for a randomized control trial. So the objective of the study was to evaluate the short-term effects of two different co-design self-learning tasks designed to prepare third-year medical students for future learning and the subsequent achievement of higher order thinking skills following the lecture-based instruction. And as you can see here, this is our conceptual framework or the theoretical framework, where we have contrasting cases and a mind map, which we termed as conceptual framework, which both via educational concept called productive failure, we thought that when we give this, administer this before a lecture, send them to a lecture, we would be able to achieve transfer. And what we found out in that case was that we also had a control group because it's a randomized control trial. And for them, what we did was we had a read and summarize task because we didn't want memory to be a confounding factor through which there would be direct application rather than knowledge transfer, which was also evidenced by our literature review. So moving to our methodology, we follow the CONSORT guidelines. It's a simple equal randomization, double-blinded, untreated control 3-arm parallel group study. The population were third-year medical students of the Faculty of Medicine, University of PERADENIYA, with a minimum grade of C in all modules of the second MBBS examination. Some of the participants are also audience members here today. And the sample size in total was 71, with alpha significance level of 0.05 and a power that we took from literature review, which is 80%. And we found out to have seen a large effect size with this sample size as well. And moving on, the study process involved getting the study participants divided into 3 groups. Group 1 was contrasting cases, Group 2 was the mind map or conceptual framework, and Group 3 was the control, which had no intervention. And this is the way the study process goes. The study groups were divided, then they were given a memory test. This was the test that we used to remove the confounders, not for our main study though. And then there was a break, followed by a lecture, and then after the lecture, we immediately assessed using a knowledge transfer test, which was the outcome variable. So, what was our first intervention? Contrasting cases. A simple example would be, let's take 2 clinical entities, bronchopneumonia and interstitial pneumonia. The cough that comes in these 2 entities is different. Because in interstitial pneumonia, there is interstitial inflammation. There is no debris within the alveoli, so the cough would mostly be dry. But in the case of bronchopneumonia, there is exudated debris within the alveoli, so the cough would be wet. So taking these small features, which would otherwise be overlooked when we give them in one shot, we created 5 clinical cases with these content-rich descriptions where we ask questions into pinpointing these specific things. And if you're interested, we can open this to discussion why these scissors are there, because
this is what inspired us to create those contrasting cases. Moving on to our second intervention, which was the mind map conceptual framework. This is the exact mind map that we created for the pneumonia. We have highlighted the pathogenesis, there are the complications here, classification anatomically and clinically here, and also we have the treatment investigation, all of this. But the approach that we went here was that we could have simply asked the participants to create a mind map on their own. But the problem was we found out through our literature review that this would be a cognitive loading task. And since the cognitive load on students will be high, what we did was we created the map itself and they made clues, things here and there. And because of that, we asked them to do this as a quiz. So that was the second intervention, and this was our assessment. What was the assessment? It was based on the case-based clinical reasoning test developed in the University Medical Center, Utrecht. And this tested the higher order objectives in Bloom's cognitive domain taxonomy, which were applying, analyzing, and evaluating. And in creating this, we made sure that the target lecturer had no clue of what was being asked, because we didn't want to confirm, because the students should not know what is being asked. Furthermore, we had a feedback survey. The feedback survey highlighted three things. Was the knowledge transfer test difficult? Rate the value of intervention in preparing for the lectures. And we had an open-ended question of what are the strengths in this intervention that you underwent. And what was our results? Our results for the knowledge transfer test is that we found a significant group difference. And when we did a Turkey's post-hoc test to further analyze, we found that the contrasting cases group scored less than the control. And this underscored a negative impact which was not surfaced in our literature review. And furthermore, when we looked into the participant feedback to see a possible explanation, it did not well inform that, because there was various perceptions in our participant feedback as well. And just giving you an idea of what students think, for contrasting cases, there was one student who said, the clinical scenario is presented here and the questions help me to stay attentive during the lecture. And for the conceptual framework, mind map here, they said that it is an amazing way to get an overview of the whole lecture, which was also our goal as well. And for the control group here, the reason why we have a participant feedback is because we did double blinding. So none of the students know which was the control. So we asked them as well what they had to say, and it was a mixed response, and here it's a negative response saying that they could not keep attention for over 15 minutes. So what is the discussion? Why this negative result? One way of explaining this would be cultural habits. Sri Lanka's GC advanced level examination, according to Kulasekara and his colleagues, says that it is a culture which promotes rote learning, which is not that great. And furthermore, we have another discussion which says intermediate effect, where first years and experts would comparatively perform better than third year students. So this is also a plausible explanation because these were third year medical students that we are speaking about. And moving on to the discussion part here, for us it was an eye-opening experience because we were involved as students in assessment design and we did the things that lecturers did. So that really opened our mind and it really gave us a new look towards how learning can be crafted. And these are things that I've already mentioned before. Our strengths and limitations is open for discussion. Moving to our conclusions and recommendations. And with that, our references and our acknowledgement, we would like to thank the following individuals. And I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. Yes, they went through a lecture which was on lung pneumonia and lung abscess. Yes, they scored less, yes. So just moving back to the slide, madam. So this intermediate effect was an empirically validated theory. The reason why there is a drop is because, as I've highlighted here, there's a transition from hypothesis-driven reasoning to data-driven reasoning. So initially people guess and they find out which is the right answer, but when they move into a clinical scenario, then it becomes more data-driven. What is the epidemiology, what's more common? So since they were immediately after the clinical appointments, and this was the first lecture, maybe that clinical exposure would have caused the confusion, which was highlighted and that was made profound by the contrasting cases we so believe, or because we have no way of proving this. This is the way that we are trying to explain it. And that is what we thought, the reason for the drop in the third year medical students compared to the first year experts. The ANOVA was, madam, the result was we had statistical significance among groups. The mean difference between contrasting cases and control was minus 2.78. And that was the statistically significant result. They were equal, madam, because the memory test that we conducted, I did not mention in this slide because I don't want to overcrowd and confuse. We did an ANOVA and there was a pre-lecture memory test and a post-lecture memory test. The means increased. So the means had increased from 1.1 to then it was 4.1. But when we conducted an ANOVA within, there was a p-value greater than 0.05. So therefore we concluded that the groups are similar. So we went in with the same knowledge, with a better knowledge, but still same across the groups. Yes, ma'am. The initial conception was, madam, we had our MSGOP appointments, and for our batch, our lectures happened after. So we finished our clinicals first. So when we went and sat into these pathology lectures, we thought that we were able to understand things better than we were following the lectures previously. So we thought that we need to find a way to promote active learning, and that's how it started. So we initially started to create some interventions to put within the lecture, maybe use some Mentimeter, and then it gradually informed us that that might be a problem. So it gradually evolved, and we had a wonderful medical education expert who guided us through with the educational principles, and taking that into consideration and the SGL, self-general learning time, it came over as a group, and finally ended up into this formal shape. So it was not a one-shot idea, but it gradually evolved to one of these two. Gone through the sense, madam, since these were all done through Moodle, we made it a form of a quiz because we used productive failure. So when we checked the things, we also did add marks, but we didn't show it. So everyone had completed the thing. So there were ticks and there was a green mark on that, so we knew that they did it rather than not do it. So, because certain few of the teachers, the lecturers that we also met, so that there was a lot of jargon that they couldn't understand what each term meant, but then we finally gave up this. That's true. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next presenter, D. Silva, KDMN, will now present their research on impact of intimate relationships on academic performance among medical undergraduates in University of PERADENIYA, Sri Lanka. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, honorable judges, staff members, parents, and my dear colleagues. Today I am here to present our research undergraduate research findings on impact of intimate relationships on academic performance and extracurricular activity among medical undergraduates of Faculty of Medicine, University of Kerala. So, start this off. What is an intimate relationship? For the purposes of this study, we define an intimate relationship as a heterosexual or homosexual romantic relationship. Then, why assess the effects of intimate relationships? In previous studies, we found that around 50% of university students are engaged in intimate relationships, or IRs. And there's a possibility that involving in an intimate relationship could have a certain influence on the academic performances as well. So, what kind of effects IRs have on academic performance? The existing literature suggested very conflicting results in different articles, and there was always the possibility of other variables affecting this outcome. And there were very few literature that focused on medical undergraduates, and therefore we wanted to assess this and to further help with the need for the counseling and need for the advices regarding school life balance. Moving on to our objectives, our general objectives was to explore the correlation between engaging in an IR and medical students, changes in academic performance and extracurricular activities. More specifically, we wanted to evaluate this association to see whether it was a positive or negative impact on the academic performance. In our methodology, we obtained our ethical approval from the Ethics Review Committee of Faculty of Medicine, and within the 5 existing batches of our faculty, we decided to include only second, third, and fourth year batches, and we excluded the first year batches owing to the reason that they have not faced any exams during the period of our data collection. And we decided to exclude the fifth year batch because of their involvement with the final year studies. And how were the participants selected? We selected equal participation from all 3 batches mentioned here with stratified random sampling. And as I mentioned before, the other variables, so we decided to assess the correlation between independent variables like demographic factors such as age, gender, and economic status of our respondents, as well as the relationship status, which is the main topic of us, and the presence of intimate partner violence, otherwise known as IPV. And we decided to collect their last semester results to assess their grade point average to assess their academic performance. Going for the results and discussion section, we will be discussing our results under these 4 major subtopics. First of which is the demography. Regarding the age distribution of our sample, the youngest participant was only 19 years old, whereas the oldest was 26 years old. And mean age of our sample was 23.2 years old, in contrast to another Pakistan medical faculty, which found their mean age to be only 21 years of age. The majority of our sample consisted of females, owing to 57% of total population. Regarding the income status of all the economic background of participants, in Sri Lanka general population, close to 60% families generate income of more than 50,000 rupees per month. And 77% of total medical students represented this category. That means close to 22% had a generating income of less than 50,000 per month. Regarding the relationship dynamics of our students, our sample consisted mainly of females, and only males accounted to 43%. In Pakistan medical faculty, this figure was around 39%. In an Indian nursing institution, this was close to 55%. And the study done in 2011 in the University of California found that 52% of their female respondents were engaged in an intimate relationship, whereas within our female population, only 40% were engaged in any form of intimate relationship. And within the 253 participants we had in our study, 110, which was 43.5%, were involved in an IR, 60% of which had their partner within the same university, and 45% of them had their partner within the same medical faculty. Regarding the academic performance of our participants, the median for our cumulative grade point average was 3.2. Anything below that was considered as performing, anything higher than was considered as higher performing individuals. And regarding the students that was in an intimate relationship, close to 52% scored lower than the mean. And regarding single students, they only 49% had performing lower than the median CGPA. And considering the gender of the students in an intimate relationship, regarding female population, only 80% of them belong to the higher GPA category with an intimate relationship, and more than 32% were belonging to the category without an intimate relationship and a higher CGPA. Moving on to the impact of this intimate relationship on the academic performance, the p-value of less than 0.05 was considered as significant. As you can see here, being involved in an intimate relationship had neither positive nor negative impact on their academic performance. However, 57% of our participants thought that there should be a positive impact on their academic performance, whereas only 35% expressed their opinion as that there should not be any correlation between the two factors. However, and there was no association between the variables with the gender, and being female or male did not predispose them to a worse or better academic performance as well. So in conclusion, there is no correlation between having an intimate relationship and academic performance of students. And intimate partner violence is prevalent in underage students, as we found out in our study. 12% had experienced some form of intimate partner violence in their intimate relationship. Surprisingly, this had no significant impact on academic performance. And having a better economical background was beneficial in academic performance, where such students scored higher than the rest. Missing lectures due to whatever reason had no significant impact on academic performance, and gender of the student being predisposed them to better or worse academic performance as well. And we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all who has had a vital role in succession of this research, and we would like to profoundly grateful our supervisors, Professor Amal Vedisina and lecturer Dr. Hasan Bandari Nayak, and heartfelt thanks for to the participants who released their time and efforts to participate in this research. And these are our references. And thank you. During our literature survey, there were some articles suggesting that being in a one gender could predispose them to a better academic performance than the other one. So we wanted to see, even if they were in a relative relationship, being a one gender could predispose them for better results. So in our study, we found there was no correlation between the gender and the academic performance as well. Yes, madam, but we, as I mentioned before, we wanted to further explore any other impacting variables that could change the outcome of our studies. Yes.
What is there in a normal population. I think this data pattern is what we see now in the medical faculty. 53 female and male, so that your sample is very much closer to the population.
Yes, madam. Regarding other things like Pakistan medical faculty is only 39%, males, which was fairly close to us, which was 43%. And Indian nursing institute, however, had higher, like 55%. Okay.
Yeah, but in our case, what we have to see is, by looking at the gender, our sample is representative of the population. So we have a higher female percentage in our population, so that's representative of sample. You mentioned that there are no previous data on this. Other than that, if there is a
the main reason was there's a common misconception as well as very opinionated individuals that there should be an intimate relationship correlation with the academic performance. Most of the guys, as I mentioned, more than 50% thought that there should be a positive correlation between an intimate relationship and the academic performance. And so we wanted to see whether that actually being an intimate relationship was an advantage in their studies or not. So that was the main primary reason. And given this topic, the supervisors also likely to do it, and my teammates and I was also happy to explore this subject. We as a group decided on the topic itself, but it went through several observations and decided on medical undergraduates because of the lack of the research done in that area. The whole population was considered, but not specifically in medical undergraduates. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I think I must have skipped through this slide. We surprisingly found that the incidence of independent part awareness was close to 12% in our study population. This was primarily the psychological type. Physical type was very rare. And we found that there was no correlation between their performance and experiencing any form of independent part awareness. Yes, we used the self-administration question as well in our live. And with the answers they provided, after guaranteeing the anonymity of the participants, that this is the figure we can notice.
Okay, and the questionnaire is a validated one that has been used there, or
Not the whole,
the main one that you are
not the complete questionnaire, but some parts of it, like a demographic association, we were able to get the pre-tested one. This one we developed for ourselves and pre-tested with our batch students involved in 20 or 30 people. And thereafter, after going through the ethics review committee as well, we published the questionnaire for participants.
it's about students, so students may be knowing better than us. Do you have any doubts about the conclusion or what? More studies need to be done.
Thank you. Our final presenter for this session is Madhumali WAS, who will be delivering their presentation on Visual Spatial Memory in International Chess Federation rated chess player, a controlled study.
All of you, honorable judges and my dear colleagues. I am Samudra Madhumali, of Research Group 22, here to present our research study on spatial memory in International Chess Federation data chess players, a control study. First of all, going into an introduction, chess is a board game played by two opponents on an 8x8 board with two sets of pieces of black and white. In the process of winning, the player has to use establishing tactics targeting the opponent's principal piece, the king. The playing level of chess is determined by ELO rating system, which is a dynamic rating system that evaluates players' performance and opposing challenges in maintaining a stable rating. In our study, our primary focus was on cognitive functions underlying chess, especially memory. Both short-term memory and long-term memory play crucial roles in chess. The chess players visually remember the relative arrangement of pieces and they try to recreate those arrangements in future games. Another aspect of memory important in chess is verbal memory, where the list of words represent recorded moves in certain games. So we aim to determine which memory component is more significant in chess players compared to non-chess players. For that, we conducted an analytical cross-sectional counterbalance study to evaluate memory components of chess players and match controls. There we included 128 participants who are healthy volunteers of 15 to 45 years of age. More importantly, here we individually matched the control participants with the chess players for age, sex, and years of education. These are the neuropsychological tests we use. We use RSVF test for visual spatial memory, single version of RLBLT test for verbal memory, and RPM test for general intelligence. Then let me go through these tests briefly. In the ROCF test, this is the figure we use. It has three trials. First, in the first trial, they have to copy the figure. It is copy trial. and it is followed by 3-minute recall and 30-minute recall, which is called delayed recall. And those 3-minute recall and delayed recall corresponds to short-term and long-term visual memory. In the RAVSD test, there are two sets of words called is A and B, each containing 15 commonly used nouns. Here, the participants remember those words over 5 trials and they recall those after some time with another trial after 20 minutes, which corresponds to long-term verbal memory. To counterbalance the test order, here half of each group was initially tested for visuospatial memory and the other half was tested in reverse order. At the end of 2 tests, the RPM test was given to assess the general intelligence. We analyzed the data using SPSS software. To compare the outcome variables, we used independent sample t-test for normal distributed variables and manual u-test for non-normal distributed variables, setting up the significance level at 0.05. As we analyzed the data, there were 44 males in both groups, cis-race and control, and the mean age and mean years of education of 2 groups are shown here, and they showed no significant difference among 2 groups. In comparing the memory outcomes, test players showed significantly higher scores in RAVD trial A6, A7, and retroactive interference. So in summary, test players favored better performance in the majority of outcome measures, except RAVD trial A3 and learning rate, but a significant difference was observed only in memory retention, delayed recall, and retroactive interference in verbal memory tasks. In our study, the participant pool was limited to native Sinhala speakers because the RAVSD test was only translated and validated in Sinhala. However, we don't expect this relationship to be different in people who speak other languages because we have individually matched the control participants with the test players. Additionally, we didn't consider engagement in other activities like computer games that might affect their cognitive functions. Here also, as the controls were colleagues of chess players coming from more or less same socioeconomic background, we didn't have any reason to suspect such a bias. In conclusion, chess players have better memory in general. Their verbal memory was significantly better, whereas any advantage in visuospatial memory was not significant. Better verbal memory in chess players in our study could potentially stem from general improvement across all the memory domains, or it might be that individuals with strong memory excel in chess. And also, chess may primarily improve visuospatial memory in game context rather than providing a broader benefit. And visuospatial analytical skills and executive control may be more important in chess rather than mere recall. In this study, we focused on comparison of memory functions among 2 groups. So apparently, the memory performance depends on mainly 3 factors: the type of the memory task, whether it is visuospatial or verbal, whether the test is test-related or it's a general task, and whether the participant is a chess player or not. So the ideal study could involve 3-way ANOVA analysis where we employ 4 different tasks for both groups. And also we could analyze and evaluate visuospatial analytical skills and executive control also along with the memory. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Participants?
No, there are 64 participants in both groups.
Yeah.
64 in each group, and 44 of them were males.
So the control group was who's the control group?
Control group, we matched the controls with the test participants according to the sex, age, and years of education.
With 1 pages.
Yes.
So all the pages just players, the non-pages players are not taking the test.
Yes.
study. The rating is 1,000, there's whose rating is 1,000 or more, whose considered as relative space.
Right, if you have unified interstellar space, if we how do you find the population?
Yes, madam, we contact the electronic media, we WhatsApp and email, and also we could coordinate with the Chess Federation and coordinate with their information we contact.
Sorry, what's this?
The group was the ideas are from our group. There was three
Which is space in your
yes, there are three players.
Is there a general, not getting factually correct, but is there a general belief that people who do chess have better memory or something like that?
Yes, madam, in the contemporary society there is a belief that displays have better memory. So that's why we also try to explore this. But we didn't analyze for a causal effect of stress and memory. So I think it will be more important if we can assess that also.
Any other questions from the audience? Audience is free.
Thank you. We kindly request the speaker to please remain on stage to receive the certificate from our judges. And now we cordially invite Dr. Lakshika Matirana to award the certificate. Thank you very much. Now we cordially invite Professor Kosala Marambe to award the certificates. Thank you very much. We would like to extend our gratitude to our chairperson and judge for overseeing an excellent session.
And that concludes the second session of oral presentations for PEPSA 24.